Like, I'm pretty worried about the environment. It's in a constant state of deterioration. Humans are a big problem. Uh, should we teach more? We need to teach more people about it. How are we gonna do that? It's a pretty common thing that a lot of people say. You're mixing up deterioration with change. The environment is. The environment is what it is. It does not try and aspire to be something. Whatever the environment is, it is what it is. Maybe it has dinosaurs or all the dinosaurs died. Maybe it has puffins or all the puffins died. Maybe a catastrophic bacteriophage eliminates half of the population of one species of bacteria all around the world. African and Australian termites are building earthen fortresses jutting out of the ground. Maybe over thousands of years a coral reef grows, but then suddenly a sudden influx of cyclonic activity or 3% salination increase over 10 years starts to kill it off. Maybe icebergs break off and host increased sea life from surrounding miles because of the nutritious, valuable sediment found frozen inside the ice that was once on the land. Through evolution, new species are created by speciation, where new organisms are able to arise and thrive. They find their own ecological niche. Species become extinct when they're no longer able to survive in changing conditions or against superior competition. Conditions on Earth are always changing, and it's dramatically is not rare. It's not something new caused by humans. Termite mounds, beaver dams, and coral reefs all change their environments drastically, affecting many other creatures. Are they interfering with the environment? Are they interfering with nature? Are humans some sanctioned animal with a higher right and separate on some higher level from the rest of the natural world? What I see here is some sort of anthropocentrism, that we're special, that we have some sort of right over all the other species. When Theodore Roosevelt visited Yellowstone National Park in 1903, it was the first piece of land ever to be set aside as something to save for preservation. He saw a landscape teeming with game. There were black bear, buffalo, elk, deer, mountain lions, grizzly bears, wolves, coyotes, bighorn sheep. There was antelope. There was everything. By that time, there were rules in place to keep things the way they were. The Park Service was a new bureaucracy formed whose sole purpose was to maintain the park in its pristine original condition. Within 10 years, the teeming landscape that Roosevelt saw was gone forever. The park rangers, who were supposed to be keeping the park in good condition, original condition, pristine condition, had taken a series of steps that they thought were in the best interest of the park. The Park Service mistakenly believed that deer and antelope in the park were becoming extinct, so they tried to increase the populations by eliminating predators. To that end, they shot and poisoned all the wolves and cougars in the entire park. Deer, antelope, and elk populations exploded. They had no predators. Then the Park Service saw that they made a huge mistake, because the original problem that they're trying to cure was that the elk were overgrazing. Now there's more elk, more antelope, and more deer that are going to eat more and more and more and more. They eat so much of certain trees and grasses, get this, that they eat so much of those certain ones, that the park ecology begins to change on a much larger level. Then the beavers leave, because the elk defoliated so much aspen, the beavers favored dam building wood. The beavers were found to be vital to the overall environmental management of the park. The hydroecology began to change. The metals dried up, the soil erosion increased, trout and otter populations receded. The ecology of the entire park changed even more. By the 1920s, it was clear that there were too many elk, way too many elk, so the rangers shot them by the thousands. The change in plant ecology seemed permanent. The old mix of trees and grasses never returned. It also became clear that the Native American hunters were part of the system in the region as well. They kept on the number of elk, moose, bison. North American hunters had exerted a huge influence on the environment for thousands of years. They burned plains, grasses down, they modified forests to suit their needs. They thinned out specific animal populations, they even killed off others to extinction. It's capitulation to a superior species. The rule forbidding Native Americans from hunting at Yellowstone was seen as a mistake, and it was one of the many that they continued to make. Grizzlies were protected, then killed off. Wolves were killed off, then they were protected. Fire prevention policies were instituted with no understanding of the regenerative health effects of fire. when they reversed the policy, they purposefully burned thousands of acres so hotly to the ground that it was sterilized and nothing would grow back without reseeding. Rainbow trout were introduced in the 70s, and that species killed off the native cutthroat species. And on and on and on and on. Mistake over and over and over again. You know what? It's a history of ignorant, incompetent, intrusive intervention, followed by disastrous attempts to repair, followed by attempts to repair damage caused by the repairers. The stories here are every bit as dramatic as any oil spill or toxic waste dump, but in these ones there are no evil, awful big corporations or fossil fuel economies to blame. These are disasters caused by the environmentalists, the very people who wanted to protect and help and save the environment, who made unintentional mistake after another and never learned. Passive protection, leaving things alone, doesn't work any better than active protection. It doesn't preserve the status quo any more than it does if you let your backyard alone. Things are constantly in flux. The world is alive. The Earth is a mega center. Species are winning, losing, rising, falling, and bottlenecking, exploding, taking over, being pushed back. Merely leaving it alone does not put it in a state of suspended animation. Humans do care what happens to the environment in the future, and they try hard. They just don't know what they're doing, period. Why are we interfering with the course of nature? Why do some try and keep it the way it is? Why do some blame humans for changing it? We're no different than any other part of nature. It will change if we're here or if we're not here, for better or for worse. If humans were in this state of development before the last ice age, we would blame each other for causing it. And the history of thoughts on climate change proves this true.